Hello and welcome to The Real World. My name's Cameron. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Real World YouTube channel. Here we're all about celebrating cinema and obviously about physical media as well. You can tell from the shelves behind me. So if you're a fan, be sure to stick around, give us a like button, hit the subscribe button as well, hit the bell so you get notified of all our videos here at The Real World. Today we're talking our top 5 dragon movies. All right, well, joining me on this very special episode again is Josh. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks again for joining us. We're excited to have Josh back. He's been on a couple times before, but he's joining us now for this Dragon episode. Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves is now in theaters, so we decided to rank our top 5 Dragon movies of all time. But first, we're going to start off with some movie news. Here we go. All right, folks, well, let's kick things off with our movie news segment as we usually do. We're going to talk about a few movie items that dropped this week online. I noticed some of these stories that I wanted to discuss. So first off is Disney announced their next live-action remake, which will be The Aristocats. The Aristocats is one of my favorites. It's a classic. I really enjoy this movie. It's got great music. The jazz music in it is at the forefront of the story, and it's just really, really well done. And so they've announced the director will actually be a musician. It is Questlove from The Roots. If you know The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, they're his house band. They're a band that's been around for quite a while. He's their drummer. And so he will be making his directorial debut with this new live-action version of The Aristocats. I think this makes a lot of sense. I mean, sometimes I ask why when they're remaking these old classic Disney animated movies that I really enjoy, but this one kind of makes sense. It's not one of the most celebrated or most well-known of them. So I think this makes a lot of sense, and I think getting Questlove as director is really interesting. Getting a guy who's never directed before, but again, who is so musically inclined, it's going to lend itself really well to the story. I'm just curious what kind of creative decisions he's going to make with it. I hope it's different. I feel like a lot of these remakes are just the same thing over and over again. But yeah, I'm interested. So what are your thoughts on this, Josh? Any thoughts?
I'm surprised. That seems, I don't know, like there's a lot more well-known movies they could pick to be next. But I guess if they're going to do them all, I mean, might as well do them all.
Right.
Are they going in order? I guess they didn't start with Snow White, so they're not.
No.
So they remaking them in order. That would be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what order, if they have a specific, like, we want to do this one next, or if they're just
Yeah.
like, who wants to make a movie and pitch us an idea? And I don't know if that's what happened here or not, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I say hopefully they won't fly. I still haven't seen the live action Lion King, but I heard the trap they fell into was too photorealistic and there wasn't any emotions on screen. So hopefully they don't fall into that trap as well, especially because like we're just following the cats. Like there's no, I guess there's no other human. I was thinking Jungle Book, but there's no other human in Lion King either. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious about it. See how well they go with it, because they did, they have done the Lion King thing where they do all CG animals. They've also done Lady and the Tramp recently, which was all real animals. So they could go either way with it here. I feel like, I don't know, if you're having them like play instruments and stuff, obviously you're gonna have to go CGI. But yeah, I don't know how realistic they want it to be. So we'll just have to wait and see.
And they've done both in films before, like pretty much exclusively cats have been real cats when they're on screen. They're just moving the mouth, like cats versus dogs and stuff like that.
Right, sure. Yeah, they might go that route. Who knows? We'll have to see. Keeping it in the Disney realm, another live action remake they've already started working on, they've been in pre-production for a while, is Lilo and Stitch. And they're actually they just announced who's been cast as Lilo. Her name is Maya Kalahoa, and so she's now going to play Lilo in this new live-action adaptation. Should be interesting. So I was glad to hear that that's moving forward still, because that's one that I think can be really cool in live action.
Oh yeah,
I think that could be a lot of fun. The sci-fi elements and everything will be a lot of fun to see where they take that. So yeah, that's one that I'm actually looking forward to.
Definitely, same. That's one of my favorite Disney movies, period. So super excited. Now, what they have to do for the trailer is, all the trailers, is just redo the animated ones where he's sneaking into all the other movies. And I think now with Little Mermaid coming out, they'll have done every single movie he sneaks into. like in live action form.
Oh,
So they
interesting.
just need to like recreate that because that was great marketing back then, and so it'd be really
Yeah.
cool to see it again in live action, even just those little trailers.
Right, right. Yeah, that is interesting. Cool. Yeah, we'll have to be on the lookout for the marketing on that one for sure. Should be coming up soon. All right, so moving on, staying in the realm of live action animation adaptations, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, a live action film, came out about a little over a decade ago now, is getting its own anime series. So that's really interesting. And they've also got the original cast back, which is really exciting. So I'm a big fan of this movie. My brother's a huge fan. This is one of his favorite movies ever. Josh, I don't think you've seen this. Is that right?
I have not. Everyone keeps telling me to watch it, and I just need to sit down and do it.
Yeah.
Because it looks really cool, and I like a bunch of the actors, and I didn't realize it was this big of a cast. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like this many people I liked in the movie,
Right.
which I don't know if they were all famous then. I know Chris Evans was, but they're all famous now if they weren't then.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean, they've all, I mean, even Chris Evans, this was the year before he did Captain America. So he wasn't
mm,
quite a household name yet. He was
okay,
definitely probably one of the bigger cast members. But yeah, him, Michael Cera, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Brandon Routh. I mean, the list goes on and on of just great actors, and they're all coming back to reprise their roles, which is really exciting. Now,
it is. Yeah.
I don't know if they've revealed or not if this is a continuation, if it's another
Mm.
adaptation of the same story. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm curious to see what ends up happening. I think Edgar Wright is involved, who wrote and directed the original,
Oh, good.
which is of course is based on a comic book series. But yeah, I think this is going to fit really well. I mean, if you've seen the movie, and I won't give too much away, Josh, but it is very cartoony. Like a lot of the
Yeah.
action sequences and stuff that happen, it's like you're kind of in a video game almost in some
Mm.
certain ways. So yeah, I think this lends itself very well to the medium of animation, which is going to be a lot of fun to see.
Yeah.
Moving on to some other bits of news. Movie that I'm really curious about is a new movie called Silent Night. It's from director John Woo, who a lot of people know is like the crazy action guy. He was, you know, Hong Kong cinema for a long time doing stuff like Killers and Hard Boiled. He came over to the United States and did stuff like Mission Impossible 2, a lot of fun action movies, you know, Face Off, that kind of thing. So, really talented action director. And he's doing this movie called Silent Night. It's called Silent Night because it's not based on the story of Jesus. It is based on, it's an idea that the whole movie is going to be dialogue free. So, no dialogue throughout the entire film. It's nonstop action. So it's going to be really interesting to see if he
Wow.
can pull this off. It's going to star Joel Kinnaman, who a lot of people will know from Suicide Squad. He's Rick Flag. So he's going to play the lead character. Not much other details have been released, but they're already shot the movie. The trailer is expected to debut in the next couple weeks. So no release date yet. They're expecting it either late this year, early next year. But with a name like Silent Night, you would think it would come out at Christmas. But
Yeah.
you know, we'll have to wait and see. And if it even is tied into Christmas at all, I don't know. But I just love ideas like this, unique
Mhm.
ideas. You know, like let's do a movie just dialogue, basically a silent film. I'm guessing there will still be sound
Yeah.
effects and music and stuff. But yeah, I'm just super excited to see what this ends up being.
Yeah, and I feel like action is a great genre to do this in because, like, if you tried
Right,
doing this in like a rom com or
right,
something, it would not work. Or at least it'd be much more difficult. But
yeah.
I wonder, like, are they gonna have like voiceover or something? 'Cause does that count as dialogue? I mean, someone's speaking it,
Mm,
but it's not like in a a
right.
conversation. So I don't know if that. I guess on the script it would probably count. I don't
Interesting.
know.
Yeah. Or if there could be subtitles, or I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good question. Good
Or
question.
they'll just do the classic where there's like it's just the screen with the words on it, and then they'll go back to the action.
Just like old silent movies. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if they lean into it, they can bring some comedy in with that. That would be kind of
Yeah,
cool.
I agree. I agree. So yeah, I'm very curious about that. We'll have to be on the lookout for that trailer coming up soon. Next up is a little bit of news from Deadpool 3. It's not official news yet. This is just still a
Oh,
rumor, but it looks like it's going to happen. I've heard rumblings of this for a while. It looks like Owen Wilson is going to join the cast as Mobius from Loki. So it'll be kind of like,
what?
yeah, it'll be kind of a TVA involved plot. in some way,
Okay.
which I think is a perfect way to do it. That's, they're dealing with the multiverse right now, and if you want to bring in these X-Men characters from this other universe, this would
Yeah.
be a way to do it that would make a lot of sense. So that could be a lot of fun to see Owen Wilson playing off of Wade Wilson, and of course Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I'm getting more excited about this as the days go on. And Hugh Jackman was also interviewed recently. He said we're going to see a much angrier version of Wolverine in this movie,
Mm.
which he's usually pretty angry. So saying that is a lot.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Wade Wilson is going to get on his nerves a lot, which is going to be a lot of fun to watch. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
I saw something too that said he was gonna that we might see different versions of Wolverine as well. Again, just the rumor mill,
Oh,
but that would play into that the TVA and multiverse stuff too. That would be interesting.
yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, if we're pulling different Wolverines from different timelines and
Hmm.
that
They
can
get
give them
really
different,
creative with it.
yeah, give them different looks, and we can finally see that yellow and
I was
blue
about to
costume we've
say
been waiting for.
yes, a couple of
That would be
them.
fun. Right, exactly. So cool. Yeah, so we'll have to look out for that and see because they haven't even started shooting that yet. So
Mm.
that should be coming up in the next couple of years. Keeping it in the MCU realm, Captain America New World Order is now in production, and Liv Tyler is officially back as Betty Ross in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, her second outing as the character since 2008 in the original Incredible Hulk movie. I think she's a fantastic actress. I really like her in this role. This movie, I think, is one of the most underrated MCU movies. It's one of my favorites. She's, of course, joining her former co star, Tim Blake Nelson, who's also returning as
Oh
Dr.
yeah.
Stearns, aka the leader. He's going to be the main villain of this film. That should be a lot of fun. So it's kind of a Hulk reunion because we've also got, of course, General Ross coming back. Although, of course, since William Hurt passed away, now Harrison Ford is filling that role. So the only person we're missing is Hulk himself. I don't know if he's gonna show up. If we'll see Mark Ruffalo in this movie, that would be kind of interesting to see him play off of her. Since we've only
Mhm.
seen Ed Norton, with her character before. So yeah, I'm curious to see what this is going to be because again, it's a Captain America movie that kind of feels like it's maybe not a Captain
Yeah.
America movie, like a lot like Civil War. It's like that's really just an Avengers movie, but that's kind of the trend with Cap. But I'm curious. I think they can do it in a way that'll make a lot of sense and that'll work. That one's release is set for May 3rd, 2024.
Yeah, maybe they're doing kind of like using all these Hulk elements to kind of uh, bring Sam Wilson in as Captain America without like putting all the pressure like culturally in
Yeah,
people going to see the film instead of putting it all
right,
on him,
right.
especially for people who didn't watch Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yep.
Maybe they're using this as like a soft, not reboot, but you know what I mean,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
soft
no.
introduction.
Yeah, because it is a new Captain America for people like you
Mhm.
said that haven't seen Falcon and Winter Soldier. That would make a lot of sense to include elements from other parts of the MCU, which they've done in
Mhm.
the past, and it's worked out really well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm excited about it because again, Hulk he's one of my favorite characters, and that movie I think is really good too. Moving on to the DC realm, the Batman Part 2 is gearing up to start shooting. They're writing the script now in pre-production, and there have been reports online this week that the villain is going to be Clayface.
Hmm.
Clayface is a villain that shows up in the animated series. He's been in the comics, obviously, for quite a while. He's kind of a shapeshifter. He can also
That's
turn his
right.
limbs into all kinds of different weapons. He's kind of like Sandman in a certain way,
Hmm.
but he also has the kind of mystique power of making himself look like whoever he wants. And in the animated series, he was actually an actor, a failed actor, which made a lot of
Ah,
sense and kind of played into it in a
yeah.
certain way, which was a lot of fun. So I don't know which version. Again, this is a character that's been around for so long. There's all these different versions of him out there, but I'm curious to see if he is the villain. Again, this is just a rumor, but I think he would be a great choice because we haven't seen him in live action yet. We've seen so many other Batman villains. I kind of don't want them to keep doing the same ones over and over again. I like that
Yeah.
they're kind of branching out and doing something a bit different. So yeah, that one I'm excited about. If it does end up being Clayface, they can use him in some really interesting ways.
The only thing I'd be worried about is like, especially because, well, Nolan's trilogy was as well, but like it's so grounded and like
Right.
this is more fantastical character.
Yeah.
So it'd be really interesting to see how they pull it off and how fantastically is. Like, I don't know. It'd be
Right.
interesting. They have to like be kind of careful how they tread that line, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. It is definitely a grounded world that that first movie takes place in. I think with each movie, you can kind of up the ante a little bit and get a little bit more
That's
comic
true.
booky,
Yeah, they can
which
get away
some
with a little more.
franchises have done. Yeah, yeah, you kind of earn the kind of ability to do something a little outside the realm of reality when your first movie is really great.
Mhm.
So yeah, well, again, still a rumor. It might not even be true at all. Another bit of Batman news. It was interesting to see an interview with Katie Sackhoff, who plays Bo-Katan on The Mandalorian.
Mhm.
She was asked if she ever wanted to join one of these superhero things, and she said she would love to play Poison Ivy. And
Ooh.
I think that could be a great casting choice if they wanted to go with that character, who we've only seen once before. And,
Mhm.
Uma Thurman's version, I'm not the biggest fan of. So it would be cool to see a different take on that character that we've only seen once before. I think she could really pull it off. She's a great actress. Moving on to our last bit of movie news. Clint Eastwood, one of my favorite directors of all time, one of my favorite actors as well. He is gearing up for his final film as
Wow.
director. He has announced that this will be the last movie he directs. It's called Juror Number Two. And it is basically about a juror on a murder trial who realizes that he may be responsible for the crime. And so he must decide whether to turn himself in or manipulate the jury. And so,
Whoa.
really interesting idea. I'm really excited to see how he executes this on screen, kind of a courtroom drama.
Yeah.
Reminds me a little bit of 12 Angry Men, which is one of my favorite
Yeah.
movies. And so, he's going to co-write it and he's going to direct it. This will be his 40th film as a
Wow.
director. He's had a long career. He's 93 years old, and he's made Warner Brothers his home for the past 50 years. He's been working with them, so this will be released. It will hopefully be shot later this year and released sometime next year, which is really exciting. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. All right. Before we totally leave our movie news segment, I wanted to quickly bring up a movie. I've started doing these movie anniversary segments on the podcast, and it is the 10th anniversary this week of G.I. Joe Retaliation. This is the
Woo.
sequel to a movie. Josh, you came on the podcast defending bad movies. You defended Rise of Cobra, which is the first G.I. Joe movie. This, of course, is the sequel. I'd like to get your thoughts on it. My opinion is this is actually a superior sequel. I prefer this one because I feel like it's a little more grounded. The
Mm.
first one has like the laser guns and like the crazy ships and everything they're flying around.
Yeah.
This one's like it's all machine guns. It's all kind of ground level. They're in tanks and stuff like that. The Snake Eyes sequence on the mountain is crazy great. I really enjoy that sequence. Of course, you got The Rock in there, Bruce Willis.
Oh yeah.
So I like this cast a lot too. It's just one of these fun action movies I get a lot out of. I have a lot of fun with it. So, what are your thoughts on GI Joe 2?
It's, I have to say, it has been a while since I've seen it.
Okay.
But that does make a lot of, like, when we were talking about in the other podcast about like the ungrounded nature of it, it wasn't really something I had realized or thought
Right.
about.
Right.
But like, especially comparing it to this, like you said, like all machine guns, like that whole first opening sequence with the
Yeah.
when them, I think when they find Bruce Willis's character or whatever,
Right.
that's like all machine guns is going
Yeah.
off right there,
Yeah.
and like
Right.
the minigun or
Uh-huh.
whatever it's actually called. So that is a really interesting distinction I didn't think about.
Hmm.
But I agree, I love this cast. It's sad that they did something in the beginning to one of the characters. I guess it's 10 years so I could say it, but
Right.
so that's an interesting choice. But like all the cast that is still left is really good, and all the additions like Bruce Willis and The Rock, like you mentioned, and I
Yeah.
can't remember her name, but she was in Agents of Shield too.
Oh, Adrian Palicki. Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah, I
like
like
her.
her
She's
too.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, she's in John Wick. Um,
Oh, that's right.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
forgot. Yes, in the first one. Yes, that's
Right,
right.
right. Perkins. Yeah, Miss Perkins. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I really like this movie a lot. I like that they get more into Storm Shadow's character, and Like I said, that there's that sequence where Snake Eyes is on that mountain and taking out all those ninjas. It's just like one of the coolest
Wait, was
scenes.
it they're climbing
Yeah, they're on the
the
ropes and they're like,
face? They're on the face. Yes.
yeah,
Okay, now it's coming back. It's coming back. I need to
that's
watch
such
this
a
again,
cool scene.
man. My
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I just had to bring that up again. 10th anniversary. It's a movie that obviously is in my collection and that I've enjoyed a number of times. All right, we're gonna move on now to the physical media report. So we've been talking a little bit more about physical media on the channel. I want to kind of start gearing the channel more towards that, something I'm passionate about. So we're going to go ahead and talk about a few upcoming releases. One of them being Nutty Professor, the original Nutty Professor, the
Oh, wow.
60th anniversary version from Paramount Presents, starring Jerry Lewis as the titular professor. It's coming to the 4K format, which is pretty rare that these comedy titles get 4K releases. So that was really fun to see that that's coming out on May 30th. Also, Netflix just released on 4K All Quiet on the Western Front. This film just
Oh,
came out last
good,
year.
good,
It
good.
won a couple of Academy Awards. And so I was really glad to see Netflix do this. It's pretty rare that they release their films on
Mhm.
physical media. So that's always encouraging to see. So that's now available. Anyone can pick that up right now.
So I
Coming
wonder
on,
if Criterion will pick it up too, like they did with Marriage Story.
that's entirely possible. Yeah, yeah, that would be interesting to see because yeah, Criterion's released several Netflix films. Marriage Story, The Irishman was another one that they
Oh yeah,
released.
yeah.
So yeah, I'll be curious to see if it ends up coming to any other formats. Also coming to 4K, one of my favorite Harrison Ford films, Clear and Present Danger, part of the Tom
Ah,
Clancy Jack Ryan series. They released Patriot Games a while back. So now the second Jack Ryan film starring Harrison Ford is being released on June 6th. This month of March, I mean, there were tons of great 4K releases, several of which I have and that I'll be reviewing on the channel soon. Movies like The Prince of Egypt, one of my favorite animated movies ever.
mm.
Dragon Slayer, which just got a great steelbook release. Cinderella just came out as well from Disney. Air Force One, another great Harrison Ford action movie. The Mask of Zorro, one of my favorite adventure films. The first four Rocky movies, as well as Streets of Fire, and the recent DC animated film Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham. So a lot of interesting releases this month. Again, some of those will be reviewed on the channel very soon. I got several for my birthday just this week, which is a lot of fun. So look out for those videos coming. Looking ahead to April, we've got some great classic films coming to 4K for the first time, like Maltese Falcon, Cool Hand Luke. We've also got Rebel Without a Cause. Criterion will release a 4K edition of The Seventh Seal, which is one of my favorites from their releases. We're also going to get a Midnight Run coming up. We'll also get 12 Angry Men, which I mentioned recently. That's getting its first ever 4K release
Oh yeah.
coming up soon. We'll also get all four films with the Next Generation Star Trek cast on 4K for the first time. So that will be one to look out for all you Trekkies. Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut, is getting a 4K Steelbook edition, which
Oh,
will also
good.
include the theatrical version of the film. That one is high on my wish list. We've got a new movie coming out called Living. This movie just came out with Bill Nye. He was nominated for this film, I think, for Best Actor. It's actually a remake of an Akira Kurosawa film called Ikiru, and that will be coming to Blu-ray coming up in April. Also, another great DC animated film, one of my favorites, All Star Superman, based on the comic book of the same name, will get its first 4K release. And the one that I will, without a doubt, be adding to my collection, Primal Season 2 from Genndy Tartakovsky. This is one of my favorite animated series ever. I've got the first season already. It's a dialogue-free animated series about a caveman who rides on a dinosaur. It is super cool. It's super violent. It's super intense, but it is a lot of fun. It's a great visual storytelling. So yeah, the second season of that is coming out in April as well. Also, pre-orders are already available for John Wick Chapter 4, which is
That was
blowing
quick.
up the box office. So yeah, you can already pre-order your 4K or Blu-ray edition of that now on Amazon. And that leads us into box office results, which I wanted to talk about as well. This weekend, as we mentioned up top, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves is in theaters for the first time this weekend. It pulled in $5.6 million in Thursday night preview showings alone, and
Oh,
it went
good.
on to gross $38.5 million this weekend, which was on the high end of expectations. Most expectations put it between 30 and 35. It exceeded that and got close to 40 million. So good news for Dungeons and Dragons fans. It looks like we might be getting more movies in that franchise if this trend continues. Of course, the other big movie that's out is John Wick Chapter 4. It's now at $122 million domestically in just 10 days.
That's cool.
Globally, it's at 245 million. It's already surpassed the first two movies and what they've made, which is
Wow.
incredible. So it's doing a great job. Obviously, they want that series to continue. They've got the Ballerina spinoff happening with Ana de Armas, Lynn
Oh,
Wiseman
I forgot.
directing that. And so that's exciting. They've also talked about other spinoffs with Donnie Yen's character, Kane. They've talked about a spinoff about the Tracker, which is a new character introduced in the fourth film. So
Mhm.
lots of interesting potential there for the John Wick franchise. And so yeah, it's a good time to be a Wick fan. All right, so now it's time to get into our top five favorite dragon movies of all time. As we mentioned, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves is in theaters now. This movie does feature a dragon. It does feature dungeons as well, so lives up to the title. And so we wanted to talk about some dragon movies. You know, dragons are kind of having a moment. I feel like over the past few years, Josh and I,
Yeah.
you talked about this while we were prepping. Game of Thrones, even recent movies like Shazam: Fury of the Gods featured a dragon, and of course now we have Dungeons and Dragons. So they're kind of they've always been a part of cinema, I feel like, but recent years they've become much more popular than they've ever
Mhm.
been before. So we kind of wanted to just rank these top five dragon movies. What is a dragon movie? Josh and I, you went back and forth with me about this a little bit. Are we talking about, like, does the dragon have to be a main character? Does it, there's all kinds of different ways to look at it. And
Mhm.
so, what I decided to do was really focus on movies where either the dragon was a main character or a major part of the plot, at least. A lot of movies out there, I feel like they kind of throw a dragon in one scene. Here's like a little dragon scene, and then they go to the rest of the movie. I decided to kind of do away with those movies and focus on the ones that either have dragon in the title or they have, they're really about the creature, the dragon creature as a character itself, or feature dragons predominantly throughout the film. So that's kind of how I was looking at it. Is that similar to what you did, or are you a little different?
Yeah, that was pretty much what I did. I was trying to balance like the movie itself versus the dragon in the movie or dragons in the movie.
Right.
And so, depending on which movie it was, or how good the movie was, or how good the dragon was,
Yeah.
one of edged over the other,
Yeah.
and how I ranked them. But I did have a couple that sneaked in that weren't main features in the film. So
Okay.
they at least sneaked into my honorable mentions. I don't think they sneaked into my top five, but
Okay. Gotcha.
they did not sneak into my top five.
Okay. Okay. Great. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So we're going to kick things off with some honorable mentions. And the first one I wanted to talk about was one that I grew up on. Still have, I don't think it's come to Blu-ray yet. So I still have the DVD.
Hmm.
It's Quest for Camelot. Have you
Yes.
seen this?
Yes, it's such a good movie. So
Yeah.
fun.
It's really fun. It's kind of silly, but it has some dark edge to it. Like the
Mhm.
villain is really creepy. He's voiced by Gary Oldman, who does a
Oh
great job.
yes.
And Carrie Elways is in this, and it's just really fun. The two-headed dragon, is at the center of
Mhm.
this. Don Rickles voices one head. I think the other one is Eric Idle. Eric Idle. Yeah, he's
Ah,
hilarious in this. And so yeah, they do a great job. It's a musical. I feel like the fact that it's a musical detracts from it a little bit for me, because while I don't mind the music, I feel like it's trying too hard to be a Disney movie, whereas it
hmm.
should have taken its own route and been like a kind of darker fantasy movie. Um, not like like too dark, but it just, if
Right.
you stripped away the music, I feel like it still could have been funny and fun without trying to seem like it's a Disney movie. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Well,
um,
this is this is their first foray into animation, isn't it? Warner Brothers
I think
or
you might be
animated
right.
movie. It
I
was
think you
something
might
like
be right.
that.
It's early. It's early in their animation for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a year before Iron Giant. So, um, yeah, but one I enjoy because I'm a big fan of Arthurian folklore and that kind of
Oh
thing. And
yeah,
this is
for
all about
sure.
that. It's kind of like what happens after Arthur becomes king. And so, yeah, I have a blast with Quest for Camelot. It's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, that one's definitely underrated. And
Yeah,
I really like the music in that one.
it is good. It is.
You can't find it anywhere. I mean, I'm gonna have to like nab it off of YouTube or something.
Right.
I don't. You can't even. I don't even know if you can find it on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah.
But some of those songs, I don't know. I really like them. It kind of seems like it's similar in the vein that the fact that it is a musical, but still being kind of dark as Anastasia, because
Oh, good point.
that one wasn't Disney either, but it has
Yeah,
that
that was
kind of
Fox.
similar.
Yep,
Yeah,
definitely. All right,
that
what's
was a really
your
fun one.
honorable mention? What do you got?
The first one I wanted to honorable mention, just for I guess dragon creativity, would be Maleficent.
Okay.
And this one, obviously, we know Sleeping Beauty, the dragon at the end is like one of the most famous images of a dragon in cinema. But the way they changed it a little bit, changed it up in Maleficent, I thought was pretty cool. It's the have you seen it?
I have, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's the bird, her pet bird that she
Right.
changes into different creatures throughout the film, and then she changes the creature or the bird into a dragon instead of actually sorry, it's her friend that she changes into a bird. Anyway,
Right.
but the dragon's got because it's a bird.
Right.
Has like instead of scales, it's got like feathers, and it was
Yeah.
just a really cool design. So I just wanted
Right.
to give a little shout out there for that one.
Yeah, that's a good shout out. I'll bring up my next one, which is Sleeping Beauty, because like you
Okay.
said, it is to me when I think of a dragon, I think of this scene right at the end of this
Mm-hmm.
movie. It's so iconic. Maleficent turning into the dragon, fighting Prince Philip, one of the few Disney princes who ever does anything. I feel like it's one of my favorite animated movies because the prince actually, took action.
Yes,
But yeah,
yes.
it's a lot of fun and it's just a great design, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm not a fan of Maleficent, I do appreciate their dragon sequence in there because it is really cool.
Yeah. Yep. I'll just do a quick nod to Eddie Murphy as Mushu and Milan.
That was my next one
Mulan.
right there.
Okay, I'll let you. That was all I was gonna say. So go ahead with it.
Yeah, he's hilarious in this. This is one of Eddie Murphy, my favorite Eddie Murphy performances because he's
Oh yeah.
hilarious throughout the movie. He's got so many great lines, quotable lines, and I love that he's this tiny little dragon,
Yes.
but he's got so much spirit and personality, and it's great. It's a lot of very fun performance, and he's a pretty major part of the movie. I actually
He
considered this to
is.
be in the top five because he is such an important, force in the plot. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, had to bring up Mushu.
And usually don't see, like you said, small dragons. Usually don't see small dragons
Yeah,
at
exactly.
all. So it
Yeah,
was a unique take, especially when he thought he was going to be giant.
right, exactly.
Another one I was going to honorable mention was Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire for the Hungarian Tale. You
Yeah,
too?
yeah, I've got it right here. Yeah, there it is.
Yep. There's both the small and large versions
Right.
of them with the little baby dragons there on the palm of their hand. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
My wife, she's a huge Potterhead, so she wanted me to pick this movie, obviously. But I was like, it's
mm,
just one scene.
yeah,
So
it's a
so
really
we
good
did.
scene.
Yeah, we did watch it last night because it was good. It was a
Okay.
really good scene and it's a fun sequence. Um, but it has no real driving point in the plot, really. It's just kind of a
Yeah.
fun moment. But yeah, great dragon scene there in Goblet of Fire. Very good.
Yeah, especially for 2005.
Yeah.
Like I didn't see the film until last year, 2 years ago,
Okay.
because I'm slowly making my way through the books, but and
Sure.
then watching them after.
Right.
And like even watching it just a couple of years ago in the 2020s, I thought it held up just wonderfully.
Yeah, I
Didn't
agree.
notice anything at all.
Yep. Totally. Another one where they're just like in one scene, I feel like, is Sucker Punch.
Hmm.
Great scene though, really cool scene. I would say one of the best dragon scenes ever. Just fun, exciting, scary. It's got everything you want in a dragon sequence. So that one's a lot of fun. And then Beowulf has a cool dragon sequence in it as well.
Oh.
Again, it's pretty brief, but it's there and it's well done, well shot. Robert Zemeckis.
Hmm.
And then a classic dragon from the 1950s, a claymation dragon.
Oh
by Ray
wow.
Harryhausen, and The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. There he is, the
Oh,
green guy right there.
oh wow.
A dragon without wings, but he does breathe fire, and he's in a pretty cool action sequence toward the end of the movie, where he fights the Cyclops. Actually, it's a cool little
Oh, oh
battle they
cool.
have. And again, all claymation, like all stop motion
Yeah.
animation, just stunning, stunning work. So yeah, this is a movie I have a blast with. That if you haven't seen, I highly recommend. If you're into that kind of like swashbuckling adventure
Oh yeah.
stuff, fantasy stuff, this is one of the best. It's a classic. So yeah, I had to bring that one up too. And then for as far as just brief dragon moments, Tales from Earthsea, which he's even on
Mm.
the cover here, so you'd think he would play a bigger role, but
Yeah.
he's not a huge part of the story, but
Oh.
it's a great dragon design
Yeah, it
and
looks really cool.
a great film, great animated movie from Studio Ghibli. Highly recommend that. So those are a few. I've got a couple more, but I want you to have a chance to mention some of yours too.
Okay. Along the lines of like Sinbad, there you mentioned. I don't know if it counts. I guess it was in the dragon list on Wikipedia as a Hydra, from Willow. So
Oh,
similar. Does that count?
yeah, I guess we can count it because I did see that on there too when I Googled dragon movies. I never thought of that as a dragon, but it does
I
breathe
didn't either.
fire. So
Yeah,
it's a
but
semi-dragon, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, but I just again with the way they animated that, like
Yeah.
just I think actually I only watched that last year,
Okay.
but I was just blown away. I was like, how did they do that?
Yeah.
Because it's the amount of things that it does, and it does it really smoothly, and the way it
Mm.
interacts with everybody. I was blown away.
Yeah, I agree. Great sequence for sure. I'll throw out another one of mine. It is Reign of Fire. This one is really fun. It's a post-apocalyptic dragon film. So it's very unique in that it's kind of like,
Hmm.
post-apocalyptic movies are usually like zombies or robots have taken over or a disease or something, but this one is dragons. And it's really well done. I think, the casting is great. Christian
Hmm.
Bale, Matthew McConaughey, Gerard Butler, just a really good, solid cast of actors. Again, kind of before they were really big household names. And then there's some really fun action sequences here
Hmm.
that I think are very well done. I think there's some great production design as well. A lot to like about this movie. I had a really good time watching this. It had been a while since I had seen it, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's just a fun kind of survival action movie,
Yeah,
which I got a kick out of it.
yeah. I just watched that for the first time this past week,
Okay.
and I really like. There was some aspects of it that really stood out to me. Like you mentioned, the production design, just like the couple downed dragons we see.
Yeah.
I was just like
Agreed.
looking at that. I was like, holy
Yeah.
cow! That the detail on it looks
I
so
know.
real.
Right. Right.
Um, they did a really good job on that with the production design department, the
Right.
creature and props department.
Yep.
Even the CG dragons I thought looked really good.
Yeah.
Even for when did this movie come
I
out?
think it came out
2002.
2000. Yeah. Yeah.
2002.
Yeah.
That's
Crazy.
crazy.
Yep.
So that didn't take away from it at all.
Yeah.
I thought some of the editing it needed another pass,
Right.
but yeah, it was still a good movie with great action sequences. I thought that
Mhm.
was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that one a lot. Okay, now I'm down to a couple that I had a hard time cutting. This is
Okay.
like basically in the realm of I wish these could be in the top five because they're so good. Um, First of all, Dragon Heart,
Mm,
uh, which I think is fantastic. This is one of those movies that I saw when I was pretty young and
yeah, yeah,
just
same.
really dug because it's so fun. It's got a lot of humor too. I just watched it last night. I just got this 4K for my birthday. This 4K
Oh,
just came out
nice.
like a week or two ago. They just released this. So yeah, it's really funny. It's got some really fun action scenes, great characters, uh, just a really cool fantasy world that they
Yeah.
built that felt very real because a lot of it's shot on location,
Mm,
shot in the outdoors, and they're blending this dragon in, and this is 1996, so it's like very early CGI days. I mean,
yeah.
Jurassic Park has just come out, and they're like, let's just do a movie with a completely CG character, the whole movie. Wow, very ambitious, but they pretty much pulled it off. I mean, it of course doesn't look as good as dragons do in movies today, but It's very
Mhm.
well done. I think, what really makes it work is Draco has so much personality that Sean
Mhm.
Connery brings to it through his
Yes.
voice. Uh, and the way Dennis Quaid plays off of him, it's so authentic. It just feels so real. So
Mhm.
that's to me the reason this movie really works is those two performances and just the way it's shot and edited together. Really fun. David Thewlis is a great bad guy. You just really hate his character in this. So yeah, that's one I had to mention because it was really hard to cut it, but I couldn't quite put it in the top five.
I was gonna say that was one of my honorable mentions as well,
Okay.
and I think that's probably one of the earlier movies that I've seen that had a dragon in it, or at least
Yeah.
that well featured. That wasn't Disney,
Right.
obviously.
Right. Sure.
Um, but yeah, and that was the first time that they had done a creature at least that long in a movie in the light.
Right.
Jurassic Park is all so dark, and it's easier to
True.
hide CGI mistakes in the dark, but that
Yeah.
was in the light. And to your point about personality, I think that's a really good reason that it worked because I didn't get a chance to rewatch it, but I was watching a few clips of it, and like I didn't realize I didn't realize that Draco moved around so much, or Draco, but just the fact that he's moving his mouth and talking
Right.
is, and like that personality is coming through is a really good, it melds really well with any lack in CGI because
Yeah.
like, oh, it's not supposed to be photorealistic because he's moving around, he's talking, whatever. So
Sure.
it's supposed to like that cartoon, almost cartooniness
Yeah.
works perfectly with it.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's very well done. Very, very impressive for sure.
What was the
Um,
other one?
yeah. The last one, I mean, this one I really enjoyed watching. There's another one I just got for my birthday that was just released, Dragon Slayer, which I just did a 4K review on the channel with this one. It is a really cool movie. This one's, so we're going a decade earlier, 1980s, 81.
Hmm.
This one was released. And it's a co-production between Paramount and Disney. A lot of people don't know
It's
that
so
because,
interesting.
yeah, Disney, they don't have their name on it because it's not very kid friendly, really. It's not R-rated or anything, but it's just not like something Disney would release. So they were able
Mhm.
to go a little darker with it. But it's really good. It's a really great fantasy film about a young sorcerer who has to face off against this dragon. He has the best dragon name in movie history. His name is Vermithrax Pejorative. It's such a great dragon name, and it's so cool. It's just got great production design. Again, this
Mhm.
is pre-CGI days, so no CGI here. It's all practical effects. It's a real dragon they built, and they do a great job of revealing the dragon. Like first, you just see his claw, and then a couple scenes
Mhm.
later, you'll see like the back of his head and the horns, and then
Doing
he's
more with
fully revealed
less.
by the end. Yeah, it's great. It's really good, and this is a great 4K steelbook with some great artwork on there.
Dang.
It's really, really awesome. So yeah, highly recommend this one if you haven't seen it. It's really good. It's again very hard to cut this one from the top five because it was a great watch. I'd only seen it once, and the first time I watched it, I didn't really care for it that much. I think I gave it like 2.5 stars or something. I was like, it's
Hmm.
okay. But on the rewatch recently, I was like, I need to check that out again, and it just jumped up because I was just blown away by how great it was. I don't know if it was the mood I was in when I watched it, or how I watched it, or what. But yeah, really, really solid um, fantasy adventure story.
Mhm.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was one of the like the main ones that I just was like this close that I couldn't get squeeze it in.
Gotcha.
But I'm definitely checking that out, especially because some other stuff I've heard about it as well.
Yeah,
Just made me really excited to check it out. But yeah, the
definitely.
last couple honorable mentions I had were Smog from the Hobbit series. That's
Yeah,
really cool. Benedict Cumberbatch's
I thought that
portrayal.
might be in your top five, so I had it ready.
No.
But yeah, that's a good one. I mean, it's such a great performance, right? If
Oh
you've seen the
yeah.
behind the scenes of Benedict Cumberbatch crawling around,
Yes. So cool.
it's great.
Yeah, this would be one where like the dragon versus the movie was battling. This is one where the movie, the or I should say the not greatness of the
Right.
movie kicked it out of the
Yep,
top five.
I agree.
I
And
don't
if you
I
had
don't know if it was
had,
in it, but
yeah, if you had had the Smaug scenes from Desolation of Smaug and the opening scene of Battle of Five Armies in one movie, then you
mm,
might have something.
yeah,
Because that scene where he attacked Lake Town is awesome.
super cool.
But it's not in this movie, unfortunately. So
Mm. Yeah, I think the only other ones. I had, which I don't know if we're going to talk about later, maybe, but How to Train Your Dragon 2 I had in top five, or in sorry, honorable mentions, and Monster Hunter, which I just checked out.
Oh yeah,
They've got a couple dragons in there.
right.
Uh, a European dragon, which is like your just typical four-legged with the wings, and then the wyvern, which seems to be super popular recently. Like both The Witcher uses a wyvern, and I think Game of Thrones are all wyverns as well, which is
Okay.
really interesting because I didn't like them. I was like, why? That's kind of dumb. Why not give them actual, like, give them hands and then give them wings, separate them. But I don't know. The designs on them are really cool. So
Yeah.
uh, I don't know. Have you seen Monster Hunter? The dragon is
Yeah.
like super crazy in that.
Yeah, I've only seen it once, and it's been a while. So, yeah, I barely remember because there's a lot of monsters in that movie. I don't really
There's a lot of
remember
monsters in that movie.
exactly. It lives up to the title. I don't. Yeah, I don't exactly remember the dragon creatures that well, but
Oh, okay.
I remember that movie had some cool action scenes. I just didn't really care for the characters of the story that much, so
Yeah,
it's
it
not
was an
one I've
interesting
revisited.
story.
Yeah,
More of a journey than a, at least I wasn't expecting like a more journey film, like a slow
yeah,
journey film. It kind of had that
right.
almost Mandalorian-esque slowness to
Mm,
it,
yep.
or pacing.
Yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yep, for sure. Good though. I'm glad you mentioned it. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into our top five. What's your number five?
So my fifth one is Aragon.
Oh, Aragon.
Sorry.
Okay. Oh, I'm so glad we get to talk about it because I did rewatch it.
Okay, I'll avoid the tomatoes I see flying. Um, everyone in the comment section is like, "What's wrong with him?"
Right,
And for me, this is the opposite of the Hobbit, where the bad movie kicked it out. This is where the dragon kicked it in.
right. Okay, yeah.
Saphira's,
Good point.
yeah, Saphira's probably, Aragon as a movie itself isn't great, especially if you read the book. It's garbage. But although a couple things I did like that they did. But anyway, but Saphira herself, I think, is probably my favorite on-screen dragon, and it was just, even for 2006, it was really well done. I liked the, this is from the books obviously, but I liked the telecommunications, so no, didn't have to worry about trying to get the mouth to move or whatever, and added to the realism of it. And it's the European style dragon with the four legs and wings, which is my favorite. So I was, all in all, it was really cool, and some of the flying sequences were really cool. I had almost I had a Triune Dragon-esque flying sequence there.
Yeah,
That's
all
why it's my number five.
yeah, all great points. Counterpoint. I don't care for this movie at all. I really,
Yeah.
I like elements of it though. A lot of what you said, I kind of agree with. The dragon as a character, she works
Mhm.
so well, and Rachel Weisz, of course, voices her and just does a great job. I think a lot of the acting was kind of stiff. A lot of even some of the visuals I felt were a little off.
Mhm.
The flying sequences I think were probably some of the better sequences in the film, but again, just seen it done better elsewhere, I feel like. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but I get it. Look, my wife is a huge fan of this movie. She loves it. I've never read the book. I don't think she has either.
Okay.
I felt like they were trying to cram so much in because it's like a four-book series, right? And they're pretty
Ye-
thick.
yes. Four books as of right now.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, I felt like they were just trying, and I think that's a hard part of adapting any book to film is that you have to
Yeah.
figure out how to make it simple enough for an audience that's coming in for the first time to just get it on first
Yeah.
go. And they didn't quite pull that off. There's a lot going on here, and I just feel like it's a little too much. But it's. I also feel like obviously they wanted to make more, and they were planning on making more, and that didn't pan out. I feel like a lot of studios do that, right? Especially when it's based on something that's popular. They're like,
Mhm.
oh, we're going to make four of these, so we'll just make this and set up the next one, and they forget kind of sometimes to make this one as good as it can be because they
Yeah.
might not get to those other ones and get to build on. Obviously, they were planning on building on this mythology and exploring this world more, but they didn't get to, unfortunately. So this first film suffers from that a little bit, I feel like too. But
Yeah.
it certainly has moments that I enjoyed. So yeah, I'm glad you brought it up.
And they are redoing it. I can't
Oh,
remember if it's a movie or a series. I want to say it's a series on Disney Plus,
oh, right,
which
yeah,
is totally perfect. I think more movies, especially series, book series, should be translated into TV series because you do get that. You get to take your time more. And like you said, to your point about all the stuff they crammed in there, world building wise, there is a lot of like not non-normal, but like atypical, I guess, element like world building elements and how magic works and talking and all that kind of stuff that it was really hard for the to translate all that, like you said, easily with audiences and get it right away. I can see how it was really hard to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you haven't read you said you hadn't read the books,
Yeah.
they're actually coming out with an illustrated edition of the first
Oh.
book here shortly. So might be a good time to check it out.
Yeah, I
It's a
would
good
really
book.
enjoy that. Yeah, yeah, I've heard they're
Don't
great.
judge the book by its movie.
Right, exactly. Yeah, never do that. Cool. Yeah, I'm glad they're doing that because I know Percy Jackson's doing the same thing. They're doing
Yes.
a series. So
Give each of these films, these book series, is justice.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Great first pick. Well, we'll jump into my number five, which is a very recent film, just came out last year on Netflix. It's a co-production between Netflix and one of my favorite animation studios, Cartoon Saloon. It is called My Father's Dragon. This is a wonderful, sort of whimsical adventure movie directed by Nora Toomey, and it is beautifully animated in 2D, which I feel is so rare nowadays.
Yes, yes.
Cartoon Saloon is known for their kind of beautiful hand-drawn animation,
Mm,
and they do a great job with it here. It's got such a great, engaging story about a young boy and his single mother as they move to this new town and are trying to make ends meet. And he gets caught up in this wild adventure on this island full of all these mystical creatures. And
mm,
it's got so many hilarious moments. It's really funny. It's got great characters. All the characters they run into are just great, endearing characters you just adore and want to spend time with. And that has a lot to do with the casting. The cast here is great.
mm.
Jacob Tremblay plays the main character. We
Oh,
have Gaten Matarazzo from Stranger Things
okay.
playing the dragon. We also have Ian McShane, who John Wick fans will know as Winston, the hotel manager. He's great as a gorilla. And then
Oh,
Chris
cool.
O'Dowd plays a character. We also have Alan Cumming, Judy Greer, Jackie Earl Haley, Rita Moreno also is in this film. So really good cast,
Mm,
all kinds of different actors, all doing a great job playing very, again, just very fun, enjoyable characters. This film has Cartoon Saloon again is known for their musical scores, and this one's no
mm.
different. Michael and Jeff Dana, brother duo, who have produced music for movies like Boondock Saints, Girl Interrupted, The Nativity Story,
Mm.
Surfs Up, The Good Dinosaur, Onward. They've done a lot of
Wow.
great scores for great films recently, and this one's no exception. It's another excellent score, very emotional, just
Mm.
very engaging on every level. It's a brisk 99 minutes. It's easy to watch. The whole family watches it. My children love this movie as well. It's really, really fun. It's just a good story about friendship and determination,
Mm.
heroism. It's really, really good. It's good all the way through. Great storyline, and we've enjoyed it a couple of times. We probably watched it 4 or 5 times since it came out last year.
Oh, wow.
It's one that we really like to watch, just because again, it is so funny, but still has that great emotional impact by the end of it. Um, Great themes, great message too. So yeah, have you seen this one yet?
I have not. It
Right,
was on my list of like I compiled all the dragon movies I could possibly think
right,
of, and then whatever Google had that I could
right,
find, and it was on the list of things to watch, but I didn't know much about it.
right.
And then so it wasn't very. I didn't watch it.
Gotcha.
But now hearing all this, I am definitely interested in definitely checking it out.
Yeah, it's I think it made my top 10 list of 2022 or close to it.
Oh, wow.
And it on rewatch it was even better. It's one of those movies
Mm.
that almost gets better every time I see it. So
That's good.
yeah,
That's
highly
good.
recommend it. Highly recommend it.
What else has that studio done? I've heard of them, but I can't remember what other
So
films
yeah,
they've
that
done.
box set right there, they've got let's see, Secret of Kells,
Oh,
Song of
it's
the
them.
Sea, yep, and
Okay.
Wolf
Okay.
Walkers.
I
Uh,
didn't realize that was it's a different animation style, this movie, isn't
Slightly
it?
different. Yeah, it is. It is
Okay.
a little bit different from what they've done before. It's a little
Because
more
usually that's how I'm
refined.
like, I group them together as this,
Yeah,
like I connect it. So
sure, sure.
I didn't realize that that was them. That's
Yep,
cool.
yep, that's them. Well, let's move on to your number four, Josh. What is it?
So my number four, and this was really close between I guess number four and number three. My number four is Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves.
All right,
So
great.
yeah, I had an absolute blast in the theater watching this movie. It was so fun, and I just chuckled to myself every time I see a trailer for it because I don't know what if they the marketing team and the script writing team talk to each other, but the it's just works so perfectly. They'll show a sequence and then so someone will comment on something that's exactly what the trailer was verbally saying or whatever. And I don't know, it was great marketing, but
Yeah.
uh like that is just in the movie 100 times. It's like such a fun movie, and it lives up to its name with the Dungeons and the Dragons. They've got a few in there, and some I wasn't expecting. I mean, I know nothing about D&D except I guess it's abuse, with people going a little too far.
Right.
So we never did it growing up or anything like that.
Yeah.
I've done maybe like one other thing that was a role playing game. So I am like I know almost nothing, and I was going into this. So if you also know nothing, and if you're watching this and know nothing either, you can still have a blast watching this movie. I'm sure I know some cultural things, so I picked up on some things, but I'm sure there was a bunch I missed as well. But I think there was at least four different types of dragons in the film. Um, they had an acid spitting black dragon, which was really cool, and unfortunately, we only saw like an instant of.
Right.
Um, there's a big chunky dragon that's pretty dope. That one was a lot of fun. There's humanoid dragons, which I wasn't expecting. That was really interesting that they it was like how where's because the other ones are like more creature dragons, and these are like just walk and talk, and they stand. I think they stand upright. I
Right.
don't know.
Yeah.
That was interesting. That's probably just something in the world of D&D. And
Right.
then the statue enchanted dragon, which was really cool. And I guess just because this one was both the dragons and the movie. I loved the movie, and then the dragons are just featured throughout, and they're really cool. So even like the big chunky one has like a How to Train Your Dragon esque way that the fireworks, where it's like the gas and the spark, and I thought
Right.
that was really cool.
Right. I wasn't as crazy about this one as you were. I was a little more
Mhm.
mixed. I think there's a lot of good stuff in the movie that I enjoyed a lot, and then there's stuff that I really didn't enjoy. So
Mhm.
um, I think ultimately it kind of has this tonal issue for me where
Mhm.
they were trying to be, it seemed at the front very comedic and like this is just a fun, silly dragon movie. And then there were other moments where it would get kind of serious and dramatic in a way that I wasn't expecting. And that's actually the stuff I liked more. I would have preferred that they
Mhm.
had gone further into that stuff because not all the jokes landed, basically, is kind of
Yeah.
what I'm getting at. I felt like
Mhm.
there's a lot of attempts at humor that just totally fell flat. I mean, our theater
Oh.
was like silent, and so
Oh wow.
it's kind of sad. But
Oh, I'm sorry.
again, the other moments, the kind of emotional through line of the film with
Mhm.
Chris Pine's character, I thought all that worked really well.
Mhm.
The storyline with him and his daughter and everything, I really enjoyed that stuff. I think the same issue goes for the performances. I think the cast is actually probably the strongest part of the movie, even though I think some of them are kind of hamming it up a little too much. Like Hugh Grant, I think was taking it a little too far into the comedic realm.
I don't know if
Um,
I've seen anything where he didn't.
yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point. But there's nothing
That's
here that
fair.
wowed me. Is kind of what I came out of the theater saying. Like, I kind of wanted a little bit more from the dragons because, like you said, there are several dragons in it, but I feel like most of them are in it for such a short amount of time that there wasn't enough time to really get into that. I think I did only count one dungeon, maybe two, but I guess that's not a huge deal. But it is an interesting world that they built for
Mhm.
sure. Again, I know like you knew nothing about this game, so it was all new to me. But I thought they did a fairly good job of presenting it as it
Oh
was.
yeah.
It just, again, I feel like some of it's a little redundant. I've seen a lot of it before. That's kind of how I came out of it feeling I wanted something new, and I got that
Mhm.
like in little moments, but I didn't get it throughout the movie for me. So all in all, didn't hate it. Just not. I'm not like dying to go rewatch it or dying for a
Oh, okay.
sequel. I wouldn't say. Although I would watch a
Well,
sequel,
well, I
certainly.
am.
Okay, good. I'm glad you are. I know this has look, it's doing very well. It's
Oh
getting great
yeah.
reviews and everyone's really seemed to enjoy it. I just thought there were certain things they could have done a little better that would have given me, more reason to see it again or
Mhm.
see sequels. So the one thing I will say again, that emotional through line, the ending, I kind of got choked up at the ending. There's a scene that happens that I was like, whoa, I
I,
did not expect this
I wasn't
to
expecting that either.
affect me in this way. It was really good. It was really good. Yeah. So, all in all, again, I would say definitely worth watching.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say avoid this movie. I would say go see it for sure, and I think you'll have fun with it. But it wasn't. It's not one of my favorites of the year or anything.
That's
I don't
fair.
think it's going to end up in my top 10 list by the end of the year. But yeah, I'm glad you included it so we could talk about it. All right, we're going to jump into my number four, which is The Chronicles of Narnia: The Voyage of the Dawn Treader.
Mm.
This film came out in 2010. It's the third entry in the Narnia trilogy, what should have been a much longer film series, which unfortunately was cut short. But supposedly they're, I guess, working on rebooting it or something. But
Yeah, with Netflix.
yeah, yeah. So this is a movie I thoroughly enjoy. Look, Michael Apted came in to direct this one after Andrew Adamson directed the first two with Disney. Disney sold the rights to Fox. Now they own Fox again, so you can watch this on Disney Plus, as I just was watching it a second ago.
Weird
Um,
turn of events.
yeah, exactly. So, look, Michael Apted, he's a director I really like. He did a Bond movie. He did The World Is Not Enough.
Hmm.
Going back to early in his career, he did a biopic called Coal Miner's Daughter about Loretta Lynn, which is an excellent film. He also did Amazing Grace, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
That's a good movie.
So he unfortunately passed away in 2021 at the age of
Oh wow.
79.
Oh, it's
So he's
kind
no
of
longer
young.
with us, but he does a fantastic job directing. He's just really, really good behind the camera. He's a really good storyteller. Does great with the visuals here. Does great with the music as well. David Arnold composed the music for
Mm.
this. I wasn't really familiar with the name. I knew the name, but I didn't know what he did. I looked him up. He did Independence Day. He did Casino Royale. He also did Amazing Grace with Michael Apted, so they'd worked together
Mm.
before. He's a really good composer. I think he does a great job with this film. This movie has a great setup. It's kind of World War II era. We're catching up with Lucy and Edmund as they're kind of growing up a little bit. They're living now with their annoying little cousin Eustace, played by the great Will Poulter,
Hmm.
who is joined the MCU now as Adam Warlock. I can't wait to see him in Guardians 3.
Yes.
He's excellent in this. All the performances are good,
Oh
but he
yeah.
particularly stands out as a great performance. And then I love the way they enter Narnia through the painting. I thought that was an interesting scene. It was
Hmm.
really fun visual. A lot of great visuals here. It's very well shot by Dante Spinati, who is a director of photography on movies I like Last of the Mohicans, L.A. Confidential, Quick and the Dead, Heat, and recent MCU entry, Ant-Man and the Wasp, the second Ant-Man movie.
Hmm.
So he's a great cinematographer. It's got a great look to it, a great framing, great composition. A lot of it's shot on location with natural lighting. I'm a
That's
huge
good.
sucker for this kind of fun seafaring adventure type movie.
Hmm.
They're on the boat a lot and they have a lot of fun with the kind of different creatures they encounter. There's great effects work here, excellent production design, costumes, sets. All of it just works out really well. We get Tilda Swinton back for a brief moment here.
Yes.
Great. And then, of course, Liam Neeson as Aslan. Um, great story. Each character kind of has their own little journey they go on, nice little character arcs. They're kind of battling their own inner demons. Deals a lot with temptation and jealousy, and these
Mm.
kind of themes are very prevalent throughout. And so, just a great movie. Eustace obviously becomes a dragon. That's why I included it here. That's a big part of the plot, even though it doesn't last for very long.
Hmm.
It's certainly a major element of the plot kind of from about the midway point on. And the scene that always gets me is when Aslan breathes on him at the end of the movie. It is such a beautiful representation of being born again, and
Mm.
I just really, really like that scene specifically. It's so well done. So yeah, that one had to make the list.
Oh, I think I've only seen that movie a couple times,
Okay.
but I think we're going to be like trading back and forth here with what we liked and disliked because I didn't care for
Okay.
that movie.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. I gotcha.
I think it's kind of the weakest of the three, which I guess was the nail in the coffin that did it in, at least for
Right.
now. Um, but have you, maybe possibly dangerous question, have you read the Chronicles of Narnia books?
I've only read Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Okay. Uh, okay. They're definitely a good read.
Yeah.
This is one of those, for those who've read it as well, this is definitely along the Percy Jackson Aragon lines of book to movie adaptations.
Okay.
So it's interesting hearing from someone who hasn't read it and how they
Right.
viewed the movie. So I do
Right.
appreciate that because I don't know if I knew anybody else that hadn't read it but had
Okay.
watched it.
Okay.
Um, so that's cool to get that perspective because it's always interesting
Yeah.
uh, as well.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. To me, I didn't nothing really stood out as far as Eustace and the dragon. Like obviously the implications or whatever, the biblical parallels, which is really cool.
Right.
Um, but I don't know. To me, it just wasn't kind of like how you saw uh, Dungeons and
Sure.
Dragons. To me, this wasn't anything.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Great. All right. Well, let's move on to your number three. What you got?
My number three is also a recent film. I kind of feel a little bad about putting two like brand new films in this, but I really enjoyed both of them. So what are you gonna do? Number three is Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Great. Great.
and so this one was kind of also both the movie and the dragon. It's not your standard dragon because it's not like a creature per se. It's not a living thing.
Right.
But it was featured heavily in the movie. Probably except for like straight up dragon movies like How to Train Your Dragon or other things like that. This is
Yeah.
probably the most a dragon has appeared on screen.
Right.
Um, for an extended period of time, especially having all this action things to do as well.
Yep.
And then just the movie itself, I super enjoyed the movie.
Mm.
The scene with him and then the dragon and fire, super cool shot. But yeah, I don't know, I really enjoyed the film.
Yeah, it's a fun one. Of course, we talked about it on the podcast just what a week or two ago, but yeah, it definitely has a cool dragon in it for sure. It definitely
Mhm.
has a unique design, and the dragon is involved in some really cool action sequences throughout the movie. So yeah, it's a solid choice. I think we need more superheroes versus dragons. I think that's a fun
Yeah.
idea. You know, it was a lot of fun to see that. So yeah, excellent choice. All right, let's move on to my number three, Raya and the Last Dragon. This is
Nice.
one of the more recent Disney films, released 2021. I had a blast with this movie. I didn't really know what to expect going in. And so, you know, it's one of those things where your expectations are kind of low and it kind of
Mm.
exceeds what you're expecting it to be. This was definitely that because right from the opening, I mean, we're introduced to this really interesting world. They build this fascinating mythology.
Mhm.
It's just a really cool idea at the center of it. It felt very fresh and new because it's really when we start in the story, the opening narration and scene with grown up Raya, it's sort of a dystopian
Mm.
world. It's like post-apocalyptic, like
Yeah,
what
yeah.
happened here. And then they go back and give you the backstory and everything, which is really interesting. So I really like that idea. I thought that worked really well. Again, great characters, just full of characters that I really enjoy. As kind of each member of this kind of ragtag group is added, it's really fun to kind of travel throughout this world and see the different places and you know all
Mhm.
these different kind of personalities and how they clash and everything is a lot of fun. So great voice acting. Benedict Wong is in there. Kelly
Mm.
Marie Tran is great as Raya, and then Aquafina, of course, is hilarious as Sisu, the titular dragon. She's just so much fun, so funny throughout the whole movie. This one, I feel like I can't think of. I mean, I can maybe think of two or three other movies where this rivals it for the action sequences as far as the
Mm.
animated movies. This really has
Mm.
thrilling action chases, uh, characters fighting each other one on one, big groups of characters fighting each other. It's really impressive what they were able to do. The animation is stunning. It's a lot of the environments are totally photorealistic.
Mhm.
It has just great attention to detail and lighting and use of like fog and all kinds of different things. It's really really impressive as far as what they did with the animation here. Great musical score too. James Newton Howard, he's one of the best. Worked on Dark Knight with Hans Zimmer. He did Peter Jackson's King Kong movie. He's worked with M. Night Shyamalan pretty much on all of his movies, including Sixth Sense.
Mhm.
And so he's really really good at crafting great themes and kind of iconic scores. So yeah, this one is just a lot of fun. Another one the whole family enjoys a lot.
Mhm.
And so we've watched it together a number of times. Uh, and the theme again, I always come back to the theme of the idea of loving your enemy is really what's at the center of
Mhm.
this story.
Yeah, yeah,
And that really hits home. I think it really is impactful and is unique for a family film. Typically, it's
yeah.
your traditional kind of good guys and bad guys, and they fight, and one wins. And this one's not that. This one's about working with your enemy and understanding them and that kind of thing. So it was really just different and something that I really responded to, and again, I've enjoyed a number of times. So that one had to make the list. It was always on the list, moved around a couple times, but yeah, it made it to number three.
Okay. Yeah, I need to rewatch that one again because I've only seen it once,
Okay.
and I thought it was good when I
Hmm.
first saw it, but I didn't think it was great.
Right.
But now, like, I don't know, like all the stuff you were saying, and just I don't know, just thinking more about it, it was like this has a lot of really cool elements and stuff going for it. I don't
Yeah.
know why I didn't love it the first time I watched it. I don't know. I'm going to rewatch it and fix that
Yeah.
because, yeah, like you said, there's so many unique things going on. I love the world building, and
Mm.
I didn't think about that about like the action in an animated movie. I didn't think about that, but it's definitely something I got to pay attention for. But like the world building, it almost has like a like it feels like they could almost do an Avatar: The Last Airbender series
Right.
about like maybe either before or
Yeah.
after, like because there's so many cool things going on here and with like the different areas. So I don't know. I this is and I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me. I need to rewatch this.
Yeah.
But and it was all animated from home. Everyone was
Oh,
this was
that's right.
height of COVID, so no one was in the studio, or I mean, I'm sure some people were, but like everyone was doing their work at home, which is
Right.
that alone blows my mind how they were able to pull this off.
Yeah, that is
Um,
amazing. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, you're totally right. That must have been a huge challenge they had to overcome.
oh yeah, yeah, and like you said, with all the characters we add, like it's got a lot of great heart and humor in it too,
Yeah.
which is really like we were just. I remember when we were watching as a family, we were just having a good time laughing through some of the sequences and mishaps and shenanigans going on.
Yes.
That's really fun to watch.
It is. It's a lot of fun. It has a great pace too. It really moves
Mm, mhm.
from the opening scene just all the way to the end. It's like it really is a fast-paced, exciting, great kind of adventure quest film,
Yes,
that's
definitely.
a lot of fun. All right, well, that was my number three. So now we're on your number three, right? Or you're on your number two.
Number two, number two.
Yes. What you got?
For number two, I've got Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Okay, okay. See, I considered this. I considered this as
Yep,
well. Yeah.
King Ghidorah.
Yes.
He's, I guess, I don't think we're counting Godzilla as a dragon.
Yeah,
I
I
mean, he does
probably
breathe
wouldn't.
fire.
That's true. I mean, yeah, I don't know. You
I don't
could go
know.
either way with it.
Well, even if we weren't counting him, I had this in there for King Ghidorah.
Right.
Just because I don't know, this movie is just a blast of a monster fight, and I guess a lot of people seem to not like. It's either like, oh, too much of a focus on the human characters, or not enough focus on the human characters. You can't win. But the director, I was watching some of the behind the scenes stuff, and the director really like knows his stuff as far as like Godzilla and all that kind of thing. So it was even some of the like I've never seen any of the original ones, unfortunately, but some of the stuff like the nods and different things like that that he was Easter eggs he was dropping in there was really cool. And it's just I don't know, it's just a really epic, cool story. And Millie Bobby Brown's in it, which is a plus. She has a really good heart to the character side of it with her and her parents. The action's incredible. All the monsters, the other creatures that Godzilla is fighting, in addition to King Ghidorah. Uh, I don't know, it's just really cool. And it's got great themes as well. That was something that I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about the themes of like death and rebirth. And it was just really cool stuff that's layered into this movie.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I've seen it a couple of times, and I'm a huge Godzilla fanatic. Back to the original, I've seen every single one of them, or at least most of them from the original kind of series
Mhm.
that they did. Um, and yeah, I like this one a lot. It's not my favorite. I think there are plot issues, character issues. I think that, like you said, that balance of human to monster ratio is always hard for them to strike. I think
Mhm.
Godzilla versus Kong is the best one yet as far as that
Mhm.
goes.
Yeah.
But this one's a lot of fun because, like you said, Millie Bobby Brown's always great. She's fun to watch, and the rest of the cast is quite good as well. So yeah, I enjoy it. There's several sequences that are visually stunning,
Mhm.
really great use of light and that kind of thing.
Yeah. The fight with the
And
building, the glass
yeah,
building.
definitely great stuff. So yeah, King Ghidorah. I mean, he's not the king of the monsters, but he's the king of the dragons. I would probably
Yep.
say he's great, great dragon character, space dragon.
Mhm.
So yeah, really cool, really cool. Glad you picked that one because that one is a lot of fun. All right, moving on to my number two, which
Yes.
is How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. So you mentioned this in your honorable mentions.
Mhm.
I rewatched the entire trilogy
Nice.
just this week. I own all of them, but this one came out on top because I feel like for me, I, I I kind of grew up with Hiccup in a way. Like it feels almost like Andy from
Mm.
Toy Story,
Mm.
kind of like
Yeah, yeah.
where I was in my life is kind of where Hiccup was in his life. So this one came out in 2019, which
Mhm.
was 3 years after I got married. And so, this one he's grown up, and we see him and Astrid and their relationship develops, and uh, Toothless, and now he's got the Light Fury that he's with. So it was all of those elements coming together that made this one stand atop the rest for me.
Mm.
On top of that, I feel like each of these movies kind of gets more intense
Mhm.
with the story and the villain specifically, right? So the first
Yeah.
one we have the dragon, and the second one we have Drago Bloodfist, who's like this kind of brute force intimidation, big dragon hunter character.
Mhm.
And then in this third one, we have Grimmel, who's more like a psychological villain. He's getting into the
Yeah.
dragon's heads. He's kind of a dark mirror of Hiccup. Like he's training these
Mm.
dragons, but for his
Mm.
own nefarious purposes, right? And so he kind of like
Yeah.
uses the venom to like manipulate them and get inside their heads, and it's really interesting. He's a great villain. F. Murray Abraham does a great
Mm.
job voicing that character. Very intimidating, and I like that Hiccup is now the chieftain of Burke. I like seeing the overpopulation that's happening there is always funny to me. That it's like just it's like a huge swarm of dragons around this little island, and they have to end up relocating. And it's just a great story about again, kind of all of these. I feel like are a coming of age story, but just at different
Mm.
stages of life. And so
Yeah,
this one's
yeah.
really about him becoming an adult and taking on responsibility and letting go of Toothless, who's kind of like
Mm.
his child in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
So that kind of element of it, I think, works really well. It's got, again, the series has such a great sense of humor. The kind of cast of characters is just really funny. All the voice actors do a great job. Jay
Mhm.
Baruchel, I think, brings a lot to this role. Again, after
Yeah.
playing it for 3 movies, he's really come into his own in this role at this point. America Ferrera at the same way with Astrid. I think she does a great job. Craig Ferguson is hilarious as Gobber in every scene he's in. Here we get more of Kate Blanchett, who was introduced in the second film as Hiccup's
Yes.
mother, and she's really good here as well. And of course, they bring back Gerard Butler in a couple of flashback sequences that we get with his character Stoic. So again, just a great cast of actors, really well written dialogue, very thematic and very powerful lines of dialogue. Some of these
Mm.
things that they're saying. Toothless, I feel like, is even more of his own character in this because we get scenes that are just
Yeah, you're
Toothless
right.
on his own, apart from Hiccup or anybody else. And so I feel like he's really a character more than he's ever been in this movie, and
Mm.
his relationship with the Light Fury and all that kind of funny stuff that he's trying to kind of woo her and that kind of thing. It was a lot of fun getting all that done. And then I did get to listen to the commentary on this 4K
Oh,
edition.
nice.
Has a great commentary with several of the filmmakers, including the writer-director Dean DeBois, who wrote and directed all three How to Train Your Dragon films,
Okay.
uh, which is, I feel, rare for an animated film to have the same director all the way
Yeah.
through because they take so long to make.
Hmm.
But he did a great job with the commentary. He's talking all about the details of the story and where he wanted it to conclude. He knew this was the final one, and so
Hmm.
what he wanted to do with that. How meticulously crafted the animation is here is stunning.
Oh,
They worked with Roger Deakins, as I'm sure you know.
oh, I didn't
Great,
know that.
yeah, great cinematographer who's shot many great movies, Academy Award winner. He collaborated with them on the whole trilogy and
Oh,
came up.
wow.
He helped them come up with new lighting techniques for animation to make it look
That's
more
dope.
realistic. And so you'll see that opening scene in the fog where there's little lanterns and kind of how the light goes into the fog and just little things, little details that are
Huh.
just so incredible, make it so immersive. The way the sun rays come in through the trees on certain scenes and hit plants, and it's just incredible what they were able to do. Of course, the hidden world itself, all the bioluminescence
Mm.
going on there, and that incredible
Yes.
sequence. So just top-notch animation, top-notch storytelling, great characters. It's everything you could want in a movie. And it's that one happens to be my favorite of the trilogy. All three are so great; it's hard to pick one, but that one ultimately is the one that I feel like I have most emotional attachment to. So
Mm.
that's why it ended up at number two.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great pick. I think the villain in that is probably my favorite out of the three. Um, like I didn't super care for the second villain, and then this is like a total shift into a totally different type of villain. Like you said, the psychological is more cunning,
Right.
and I don't know. Again, great voice acting. To echo what you said, I think it's a great villain. I love the animation, both the first film and then the second continues it. But like this film, like you said too, they just like I've never seen an animation look so good. Like in the first movie you have the just like the fur which looks like you could just touch it and it looks real,
Right.
and then I think if I remember right the something I think it was the sand that really stood, the fur
Mm,
obviously, but the sand I think stood out to me in this one
yeah.
as like it was like wow, it just looks really good and really
I know.
realistic and it's really cool.
Right.
uh the end sequence is like
Mm,
with the paired with the score,
yeah.
is so good.
Great. Perfect
It
ending.
gave me Avatar vibes as well, in
Yeah.
all the best ways.
Right.
I don't care how close or copy, I don't care. It was just amazing.
Right.
Um, and yeah, so great film. I love all the, like you said, the little bit of humor with the birds of paradise wooing
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
um, yeah, really cool story and uh, amazing film. Amazing film. I need
Yeah.
to rewatch it.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, they're all worth a rewatch. So yeah, we're on to your number one. What you got?
So my number one is How to Train Your Dragon.
All right. Awesome. Great.
The first
Great.
one.
Yeah, the first one.
Um,
Awesome.
yep.
Great movie.
And kind of, I don't know, this movie, like DreamWorks movies for me have always been either hit or miss. And none of them have really like penetrated my heart in a
Yeah.
way, so to speak,
Right.
until this movie.
Yeah.
And it immediately just one of my all-time favorite animated movies, hands
Mhm.
down.
Mhm.
The animation, the score, the world building, the dragons.
Right.
Um, it's so cool, and dragon writing even cooler. And I
Mhm.
liked all uh, the unique aspects of the dragons, um, how they all worked, and there's different like, oh, they have different fire capacities, and like you can only blow out 4 or 5 of them and then they're done for a minute. Like I don't
Right.
know, it's just really cool and creative, and I know it's
Yeah.
based on a kids book series, which I believe they changed a lot as far as like story goes.
Right.
um, but still, it's really cool world building, great voice acting, as you mentioned. Gerard Butler's character is super cool.
Yeah.
Um, there's nothing to hate about this film. There's nothing to not like about this film. It's just
Right.
so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is great. It's a great one. It's a great trilogy. It's one of the best.
Mhm.
I don't know, if we're talking best trilogies, it might be in the top 10. It's really good because of the way it builds. I feel like the first
Yeah.
movie is such a great introduction to everybody.
Hmm.
Everyone has such distinct personalities that you
Yes,
can
yes.
really easily, and character designs, and so you can easily tell them apart. Same with the dragons, like you said, there's so many different variations of what kinds of dragons and what they can do.
Hmm.
And yeah, the first one, it really, I always think specifically about the first time Hiccup flies with Toothless. It's such a
Hmm.
great build up to that, right? It's like, I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people would have probably rushed that a little bit and tried to get to that too soon, but they really earn it. And that first flight sequence is really effective because of that. And so, yeah, it's a great movie, one that I've seen many times.
Hmm.
Maybe is why it's not my favorite because I've seen it too much. My little brothers watched this all the time when they were younger.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's a great one. It's an all-time, probably easily in the top five of all of DreamWorks animation.
Hmm.
And they've done some really, really good animation, but
Yeah,
that's one of their best for sure.
yeah. And like you said, that flying sequence just literally gives me chills every single time.
Yeah,
Like
right,
there's, I don't know what it is about flying or swinging, but like like
yeah,
Superman,
right,
Spider-Man, this stuff,
yeah,
pod racing,
right.
even like the stuff, the little snippet we get in Aragon, like it's just
Mm,
it's so cool and then like invigorating, and you're like you feel that character's energy,
totally.
and matched that with the beautiful score
Hmm.
of Test Drive is it's just it's one of my probably one of my favorite moments in cinema.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it's great.
just that scene. Oh,
Yeah,
so
the
good.
wonder of flight, it's something we can't do. So it's like when you
Yeah,
see someone doing it, it's like, whoa. Yeah, it's pretty neat. So yeah, excellent choice. On to my number
what's your
one, if
yeah?
you're
What's your number
ready.
one?
My number one favorite dragon movie is Pete's Dragon from
Nice.
2016. So this is the remake. This is, I rag on remakes a lot, especially the Disney ones because they're just the
Mm,
same movie, just with a live action coat of paint on it. I don't really get why
yeah.
they do that. This is not that at all. This is taking the 1977 movie, which I grew up on. This is
Hmm.
one of my favorite Disney movies ever. Really enjoy this movie. It's a musical. It's fun. It's silly. Big dance numbers, really over
Hmm.
the top theatrical performances. It's very fun, but it's not anything like this. I mean, they're night and day different because this is not a musical. This is just a straightforward drama, really, is what I would call it. I mean, it's kind of an adventure film, but it's really much darker. It's much more realistic.
Mm,
It's really you can tell there's David Lowery, who directed this, had a perspective, had a vision, and a story he wanted to tell. And this is the guy behind The Green Knight. This is the guy who did Ghost Story. He's doing the new Peter Pan movie, Peter Pan and Wendy, which is coming
oh,
out
that's right.
very soon. And he's just a unique filmmaker. He's got a
Hmm.
real unique style. He likes to ground things in a certain reality, but kind of play with these fantastical ideas
Hmm. Hmm.
in a unique way. And he certainly does that here. Uh, his cast is phenomenal. We've got Bryce Dallas Howard. We've got Wes Bentley, Carl Urban, young actress named Una Lawrence, and the young actor who plays Pete is Oaks Fegley. And then, of course, the great Robert Redford, legendary actor, is in this as well. So just an excellent cast, fairly small cast. It's not like one of these big movies. It's pretty intimate. It all takes
Mm,
place in a really small town and the woods just outside the small town where this young boy has survived with this dragon who he named Elliot, who can turn invisible. So no one's really ever seen him before. Robert Redford's character claims to have seen him. No one in the town believes him. And it's just kind of about their journey, about surrogate family. It's
mm,
it's a story about an orphan, and so themes of family are prevalent throughout. It's really incredible because I feel like Elliot in this movie is a character again, a lot like Toothless and How to Train Your Dragon, but doing
yeah.
that in a live action film with a computer generated dragon, I feel like is so much more difficult because you
Yeah.
have that you have that kind of wall between the characters and the actors on set and this
Mhm.
character that's not really there. But with a cast like this, you can pull it off because they really do a good job playing off of him, and the digital artists do a phenomenal job making him emote. You really can tell what
Mhm.
Elliot is feeling in every scene, whether he's happy, whether he's sad. They do a great job animating his features, and they don't make him too anthropomorphized. They don't like humanize him too
Okay.
much. He's still a creature. He's still like an animal, but you very much can tell what he's feeling by his eyes and his posture, his body language, that kind of thing. So you
Mm.
can tell they definitely studied animals. I'm guessing probably dogs most, and so they just do a great job with that. It's got a great soundtrack. It's very kind of like folky music
Mm.
that adds a lot to the feeling and the tone of the movie. Kind of has this melancholy kind of feel to it. There are some super fun scenes, like you're saying. We were just talking about the flying sequences when Pete is flying on Elliot's back. It's just joyous and super fun. Big, crescendo of the score there, and all that kind of stuff is present. It also, like I said, gets kind of dark and kind of scary at other moments. So it works all around. I think it's just a really enjoyable movie, very emotionally engaging throughout. Uh, Again, just seamless effects. The dragon is in almost every scene, and it feels
Mhm.
like he's there. And that's the best thing you can say about a dragon movie is
Yeah.
the dragon feels real. So great film. Overall, it has a perfect ending as well, which I really enjoy. When you can stick the landing, I feel like that's always a big key to
Yeah.
making a great movie. And so, yeah, this one is one that I've visited a couple of times. It's not one I watch often. It's not like one that I'm always dying to rewatch because it is kind of heavy in certain ways.
Hmm.
But it's one that I feel like Disney needs to like step it up and match this level again with the remakes because it just has a unique vision to it. It's something different
Mm.
that doesn't feel like the original. It's very much inspired by the original. It has the dragon,
Yeah.
has Pete, it has those elements to it, but they just tell a new story with those elements. And so,
I like
um,
that.
yeah, for me, that's my favorite dragon movie, Pete's Dragon.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely need to check that one out.
Okay, you haven't
It
seen it?
was, I think there's a few of the remakes that I still haven't seen, and
Okay,
that's one of them. I didn't hear too many things. I don't know why I didn't see it when it first came out, but then I didn't hear too many things about it, too many people raving or anything. So I never got around to it.
yeah,
But yeah, I definitely need to check that out because I like David Lowery,
yeah,
especially
yeah,
for The Green Knight. Like my goodness.
right.
Um, so yeah, I definitely need to give this one a watch.
Yeah,
And I
it's
did not
under.
know that it's a different story. It's not the same, which is another intriguing thing about it.
Right. Yeah. It again, it has those elements to it, but it's like, yeah, it's a totally different story, which I really appreciated, and I think
Mhm.
is really the way to go with a remake. It's like, we've got that story already. Why do we need it
Yeah.
again? Especially if it was done well. It's another thing if it was
Mhm.
like that was a kind of a bad movie, but a cool idea. That
Yeah.
happens sometimes, but the original Pete's Dragon's great. So
Yeah, it is.
why would you want to do that? So yeah, watch it on Disney Plus. It's available there right now. Highly recommend it, and I'm looking forward to what he does with Peter Pan next, which is coming out, I
Yeah.
think, at the end of next month. So excited to
It's
see
pretty
that.
quick.
Yep, yep. Well, that will do it for us here on the Real World Podcast, episode 42, with our top 5 dragon movies. Let us know your top 5 dragon movies in the comments below. Also, give us your review of Dungeons and Dragons if you got to go see that in theaters. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of all our videos here at the Real World. Also, make sure you go and subscribe to Josh's channel, Film C. That will be in the description below. We'll give you a link directly to his YouTube channel. Thanks again, Josh, for joining me.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.
All right. Well, next week we will be talking about the Super Mario Brothers movie with my special guest, Anthony. We're going to talk about our favorite video game adaptations. We're going to even do some Super Mario trivia for you, which will be something new. So that should be a lot of fun. Be sure you join us there next time. Again, thank you for listening or watching. We will see you next time right here on the Real World.